Hello, everybody. Another edition of the Daily Ticket, another winning edition of the Daily Ticket coming off of last night's dominating performance, of course, by the Phillies, but more so by the Daily Ticket. Luke Arcani and myself gave out some winning plays. No Luke. Instead, we got John Jansen. Hopefully, we can continue those winning ways on a Wednesday, July the 3rd. Hello, America. John, how we doing?
Doing good. Trey Turner. I'm feeling good because I was saying Trey Turner MVP all offseason. It's not going to happen, but I think we're seeing now that he is an MVP type player. That yesterday was an MVP type performance. And really, he's been the same way kind of Harper picked things up when Turner went down. I feel like Turner's kind of picking things up once Harper and Schwarber went down, which is great.
It's absolutely wild to see what this team has been able to do. I was just watching VSiN this morning. We'll talk a little bit about something else that they were getting into, but they had this gentleman on from the Vegas Insider, and the dominating run throughout the course of this first half that the Phillies have been on. Remember, their longest losing streak this season is 3 games. Think about that. 3 games. We're halfway. We're past the halfway point. I think we're 85 games into the regular season. And the longest losing streak for this Phillies team, who has dealt with their fair share of issues from the injury standpoint, Marsh, Turner, Schwarber, Harper. Again, those guys just went down, but still be realistic about it. This could have very well went the other way with a 5, 6, 7 game losing streak. And yeah, people would have been upset, maybe second guessing in some of the pitching. But when you play 162, that's going to happen. Hasn't happened to the Phillies, knock on wood. And he was talking more about the first 5. And essentially, if you bet the first 5 for the Phillies throughout the course of this whole season so far, you're way over as far as winning is concerned.
So, how consistent they've been. That's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. So it's just really fun. And, you know, I've been hammering this home a lot with a lot of these conversations when we talk about these teams, and we just need to enjoy the ride a little bit more, right? Like, I get it. We are in it for championships. We want the parades. We want the good times, understood. But those good times come throughout the course of regular seasons as well. So when you dial up Paul George and you bring him into the equation, I might not be thinking about winning it all right here, right now, but I know the odds makers are feeling that way a little bit. And I would say for the most part, we got to enjoy these wins, the regular season, the process, dare I say, a little bit more. I know. Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we are. It's easy to enjoy wins, you know? So I think we're enjoying.
I think the Phillies season, yes, 162, I think is cemented in the brains for a lot of Philadelphia sports fans. That now in my early days, it was not. We were a 16-game mentality, no matter the sport. And you know, you lose 3 games and you want people fired, but that's somewhat not the case.
Like even when the Phillies have gone in their struggles a little bit, it just doesn't feel like panic. It definitely. Conversations start to happen of, okay, well, maybe what can they add? You know, what can they do to be contender here? You know, to make sure that this is continuing to go at the pace that it has gone. You know, those conversations happen. But yeah, I think it has been enjoyed. I really do. I feel like this season has been enjoyed by lots, especially at Citizens Bank Park, because when I've gone, man, that stadium is rocking every time I've gone. Every time.
Yep. And for the most part, the ratings have been reflecting that. And of course, the conversation and, you know, just people are loving this team. There's a lot to like from the players' perspective. And, oh, by the way, they have something to show us in the last 2 seasons where they've been pretty damn successful. I watched the game in detail last night. How do you say the pitcher's name again? Mercado? Is that how you say it?
I would say
Mercado. Okay, I didn't want to get it wrong there.
I watched it on mute, so I didn't hear the name, but I imagine.
A hell of a pickup by the Phillies to get him in and to have him step in the way he did last night. Just phenomenal performance. And even more so after the game when he had his one-on-one, there was so much to like about the kid. This kid was drafted in 2017 by the Tampa Bay Rays. And like, I'm a fan, immediate fan. I get it. He pitched well last night, 6 innings pitched. Or excuse me, he went 5 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, over 3.5. We gave you that on the Daily Ticket. Only 1 earned run there. And, man, pitched his butt off, giving up 2 hits, and just a performance that you needed from a starter, not named Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, or Christopher Sanchez. So hats off to him and the way he pitched. And, of course, as I said afterwards, a lot to like about that young man. just really poised. Seemed like just, is soaking it all in. And T-Mac had something to say at the interview where he's like, yeah, try and take a second to soak that all in. He's like, yeah, we're going to do exactly that. So pretty cool, man, across the board.
I feel like the Phillies have had always great stories of that. Guys have had these long journeys. I know I'm forgetting the relief pitcher that they brought up like a few years ago that had that first round pick, number 1 overall pick, I think. Arm injuries happen. I'm forgetting his name. But yeah, I don't know why I'm forgetting it. But, Chris Costa, I always love those stories because there are a ton of those guys who are in the minor leagues for a long time. And a guy like Mercado that's been a talent just can't stay healthy and out of the game for a while. And the development gets delayed for years and years and years. Like it already takes guys, a good 3 or 4 years. Some of the really good guys, you can get up like Skeens maybe in a year or two. But some of these great prospects, it takes 3-4 years. Could you imagine that being delayed for 2 years? Like you'd have to catch up all over again. So, those stories to me are always great. And yeah, he pitched extremely well. And I don't want this to be taken away from anything because it's a great story. I couldn't help but also think, man, that Cubs lineup is trash. They are terrible. They've been that way for a while this season, pretty much since I'd say sometime in May, but mostly through the month of June. That is one of the worst lineups in baseball. They are brutal.
Didn't they get off to a decent start? I thought there was some buzz behind them, and everybody loves the Cubs. I get it, but I couldn't agree with you more. Going into that game last night, just looking at what Bellinger has been able to do this season, it's atrocious. He hasn't had a home run in forever. In fact, he's only got 9 on the season. And correct me if I'm wrong, he's their big bat. He's the guy that they're depending on for. You got Suzuki in there, don't get me wrong, as well. But Bellinger was the guy that.
We kind of knew that signing was like he wasn't going to be what he was last year. There were so many numbers that were suggesting that this guy that 1 year was really good. Because, it was an outlier from what he's been towards the end of his Dodgers career. It was like an outlier of what he's been doing. So, yeah, I was kind of expecting regression. But that's why everybody, when they wanted to sign the Phillies to sign Bellinger to this contract, why? There's so many other available bats that don't have the name and not asking for so much money that you can get that maybe it's just as good. And that's maybe another caution of, I like Luis Robert Jr., and I know that's the big hot name right now that everybody wants to get. There's other bats you can get that are maybe similar, I don't know if just as good, but similar, maybe a little bit better, at least for this season, that you can get for much cheaper. You don't have to get the Robert Jr. You don't have to get Cody Bellinger. There's other really good Major League Baseball players that you can get on a much better price.
Robert Jr. didn't throw the ball in out there in center field. I think when they were taking on the Guardians last night, and people are roasting him today. No,
and he has the arm for it too. Didn't even.
You gotta throw the ball, right?
I don't care if it's way late. I don't care if it's way off. Who cares? You got no other choice. What other choice do you have other than we lost? That's fine, I guess.
That's strictly about the organization that he is representing at this point in time. Like that's the way it's going for the White Sox.
Do you want that to contaminate the Phillies locker room?
I don't think it would, though. That's the thing. I was saying he would do that in Chicago, but I don't really think that's maybe that is the type of player. But I would look if that. If you're telling me there's an opportunity to go and get him, what that play was out in center field yesterday will not deter me for getting Luis Robert Jr. No. I got to watch a lot more because if you're telling me that that's who he is as a player, then there's
other things that I see from him. I don't like his plate discipline. Like I don't like him at the plate. He's got raw power. He's got things that you really like, but the plate discipline's not the best. And then obviously we just saw the discipline in the field not all that great either.
Yeah,
it does seem like it's. I'm not going to say he's like a lazy player or anything, but like some of that stuff maybe seems to follow him.
Well, again, you can go ahead and have your video people put together a montage of every play that doesn't involve him, every at bat. You can get whatever you want. And, Dombrowski and the people in the front office for the Phillies will have a field day with it. And if he is that type of player, I don't expect him to be in pursuit of him. But they are roasting him over that one play last night, which is pretty funny. Anyways, moving on. Back over to Phillies again. Spend a couple minutes on Trey Turner here just for a second. as you pointed out, just being able to watch and what he's doing right here, right now. No surprise, but it is needed because of the fact that a lot of these great bats are out of the lineup right now, 3 of the big bats. So you need your guys like Trey Turner step up. Bryson Stott, good day at the office last night too as well. In the leadoff spot, 2 for 5, had a double in there. Bomer 0 for 3. Marsh 0 for 3. Castellanos 1 for 3. Clemens filling in a nice over at first base. Stubbs had a 2-run shot, right? Or was it a double? Was that a home run or a double? I forget.
I think he had a home run. Yeah, he had a home run last night.
No, it was a double. Double to get the 2. That's what it was.
Okay,
that was
okay. Yeah,
I missed the beginning of the game.
So did I.
All right. Well, keeping it moving. Again, this Phillies team on to the next today or tonight back against the Chicago Cubs. And it is a Zach Wheeler day. And that is what it's all about. You get Wheeler on the mound. That's exciting stuff because, Luke and I were talking a little bit about yesterday. We want to see a vintage Zach Wheeler performance. Over these next couple games, you got good opponents, whether it's the Braves or the Dodgers coming to town, and you got some weak opponents like the Cubs and the A's. If your number gets called upon, it's time to throw up some vintage performances. Minus 130 on DraftKings Sportsbook. 7.5 is all you need to know about this one.
Yeah, he's not. And the thing is, you just want to see a vintage one because it feels like all year Zach Wheeler's been good. And nothing is saying he's been bad or anything. Just watching him, like if you watch Zach Wheeler, it doesn't look as sharp as we're used to seeing with Wheeler. We're used to seeing the fastball really sharp, and I don't think the location has been. His secondary stuff, I don't think has been as sharp. He's able to work through it because talented as hell. He's been able to work through it like any really good pitcher does, and the quality of pitcher that Zach Wheeler is. So he's been good. But yeah, I'm kind of with Luke. I just want to see vintage Zach Wheeler. I want to see him start looking more sharp. His location get a little bit better. Some of these innings get a little bit easier for him. It feels like he's struggling at times. You could tell he's allowing more base runners. He's at times he's given up 8 runs in a game in the past couple of starts. So I'm with Luke. I just want to see a little bit sharper of a performance than what I've been seeing from Wheeler lately.
We'll see about the lineup when that comes out, but they're going up against the young gun over there, Imanaga. How do you say his last name? Imanaga. There you go. So this is the first time that I've sat down and watched an outing from him this season. I know he's had a pretty good start. It was about from Cy Young and everything else. Crazy echo today. Crazy echo. I apologize about that. But he is plus 110 going up against this Phillies lineup tonight. And again, 7.5. I'm not looking at anything Cubbies. I do like the Phillies tonight to go ahead and get that win. And Wheeler at minus 130. Why not? That's not too bad of a number to take a flyer on Zach Wheeler to continue the winning ways for the Phillies tonight. So I don't think you're going to disagree with me on anything. Any other props, any bats catching your attention on that one?
No, not really. Because some of the lefty stuff I've been looking at has honestly been Schwarber. It's a weird thing to say that because it's lefty on lefty, but Schwarber's been crushing left-handed pitching. So outside of that, maybe you can get Alec Bohm for an RBI. Trey Turner, you can go back to. Trey Turner's just been red hot the past couple of games. So I think Trey Turner you can go back to. But yeah, most of the couple of guys that I usually go to against lefties is actually Harper and Schwarber, but obviously those guys are out. So yeah, I lean maybe more if you, again, a Bohm RBI, I want to lean more towards a Trey Turner game as well. Total bases, stuff like that. I'd be in for that.
All right. We dive in a little bit more deeper once we get the lineup, start focusing on some of those the righty and lefty numbers. And look, as far as finding some winning plays, we were able to do that last night. Make sure you dial up Luke, Arcani Luke on socials, and hear what he's got to say. He's got the hot hand in the dice game when it comes to the fightings. All right, let's keep it moving. And quick little hitter today, because coming up 4:00, X's into you, brand new episode with the Philadelphia Union. Let's check a number out there. Union back in action tonight, man, and it's not nothing really
not
good
pretty
right now. No.
Yeah, not great.
No, not a lot of fun right now in the Union versus Matty G likes to say. But at the same time, season rolls on. It's not done. I do want to say that last night I kind of let it be known a couple minutes about my frustrations and maybe a little unfair after getting corrected by Joe Tanzi, who Nobody knows more about Union soccer than Joe. And I wasn't really too far over the top in my mind about, look, we knew the Carranza deal was coming. We knew he was not going to be playing. He has been playing for the last couple of games. The frustration for me is it's just another moment in it's just tough for me to sit here and really convince people and convince myself, to be all in for this season. And it's specifically when we go over the past few years where it's like, yeah, we hear about the academy, we hear about selling players, we hear about getting the money, and then here you are smack dab in probably your worst stretch of soccer in quite some time, many seasons, which is a tribute to Jim Curtin and the players and the coaching staff and everybody. Things have been going great for the Philadelphia Union. Haven't equaled or amounted to a championship by no means, but of course, the first trophy. We know that. We don't have to go down the details here. But bottom line is, when you lose Carranza, who was far and away, in my mind, the best goal scorer. I know Gazdag leads the team, but the most dynamic player was Julian Carranza, and you didn't replace him. And Tansy was like, well, they can't because of the window and transfer. And I get it.
You had so many other chances. Like, they knew this was coming. Like, this was on the table for a while. Like, you knew this was going to happen. So what was your answer to that?
If the answer is the transfer window wasn't open and you can't get a transfer, point blank, if this transfer window opens and they have a player coming in, then I think I need to go back and say they knew what they were doing. It didn't exactly work out in the perfect amount of time, but credit to them for figuring it out.
Right.
Getting a player
right. At some point, I would just be happy if figuring it out ever is in the conversation. Like, if I can ever say that, I think it's already too late. Like, you should have done that. You had to have known. They did know. Like, Carranza was going to be moved at some point and it was going to happen soon. So they knew, and they didn't really do much about it. I think Ty Barabo is really their response to, like, oh man, if something really does happen, we got to do it. And he's been okay when he's got some time, but he hasn't played a lot. I think it's for a reason, because he's just not as good or not that good. But yeah, you're right. I think at some point, if it ever gets figured out, I will just be happy, because that means the Union actually were proactive in doing something, spending money, getting that player, because they haven't done that. And that's something that I would welcome, even if it's at this point, which I think it is, too late.
July 18th is the secondary transfer window. That's when it starts. The last one was January 31st to April 23rd. Baribo was brought in, did score 2 goals his first opportunity. Was he the plan? Is there disconnect between Jim Curtin and Ernst Tanner?
He was supposed to be.
There's a lot of questions right now. And it was a good listen last night. Again, I don't really speak too much on that. I don't. At the end, I give him the little VAR where I correct some things, and I'm like, your stat boy, having fun with it. But last night I got a little about 3 minutes, and I just was like, man, it's frustrating. And I didn't want to lose Carranza, and I'm tired of losing these players. And I know it takes 2 to tango. Like, if the player wants out, you got to fulfill his wants, and that's understood. But maybe if you spend a couple extra dollars, you could have kept Carranza here. He's a badass, man, and this team is going to miss him. And I haven't seen enough of Bariba. I don't know who else is on the move. I hear about all these young guns. Clearly, they're not ready. Like, Quinn Sullivan I love Quinn Sullivan. I think he's going to be a great player. He's not the
out of spot
right
though.
now.
Yeah, he's
essentially
out of position where they're playing him mostly.
Bottom line is, there needs to be more, and I do think there's
100% needs to be more.
I think there's a big disconnect right now between Ernst Tanner and Jim Curtin. Just one man's speaking, one man's take, and I think we'll hear more about that. But at the same time, plenty of soccer to be played for Philadelphia Union, and they are back in action this evening, taking on the Chicago Fire. I just had the number here. Union plus 225 dogs on the road. Fire even money, draw 3-way action plus 265.
It's even crazy to see a number like that for the Union. If they're doesn't in the past couple of years, if they played Chicago, no matter what, home or on the road, like they're an easy favorite. Yeah, and they win. We would be confident about that. So it's just, and as much as we talk about goal scoring with the Union too, the goalkeeping and even the back line, especially the 2 center backs, have really disappointed. What has been the spine of that team, the foundation of that team, that no matter what they were going through, that would carry them to a certain degree, but that would carry them. That hasn't anymore. And again, it's being complacent. It's because you've been complacent for so long. You've relied on, and I'm not saying it's like Lesnes or Elliott's fault. It's just that they've been relied on for so long. At some point, it was going to crack. At some point, it wasn't going to be as good as it used to. So what was your answer to that? And they really didn't have any. They were just so relying on Glesnes, Elliott, Harriel now, but Mbaizo as well. And also Kai Wagner and Andre Blake save us all the time. And they would be able to, but they can't do that forever. At some point, you were going to have to figure out what you were doing at the top, and they haven't really figured that out.
Nope. And they just lost Carranza. And you're wearing
just
the
lost
Union jersey.
Carranza.
Nice. And Blake is a huge loss. Like even if the goalies, whoever were called in at what point in time, they were playing well. As of late, not so much.
No.
But there's so much more that Andre Blake brings to the team than just between, the posts. Like he is such a leader and a driving force on that field, commanding. You hear him no matter the broadcast. Like Andre Blake is missed, and that's understood. But all in all, this team needs to play better, and if they don't, they're going to miss the playoffs, and that hasn't happened in quite some damn time, and that's going to be.
Are you hitting that like panic of? I mean, it's already panicked, but
it's been a disaster.
Not just panic of like. Has the reality for you been this team might actually miss the playoffs? Well, I think there's always been I don't know if they're ever going to be content. They're never going to contend this year. Like I don't think they're ever going to be. But there still should be an expectation of better.
They're 12th.
But yeah, that's the problem. Right, is they're dropping
out of
significantly.
15 teams.
Yeah.
They're taking on Chicago, who's the worst team in the conference, and they're dogs. Understood, they're on the road, but yeah, this is bad. And if they continue to play like they did over the last 6 to 8 games, you bet your ass they're not going to finish in the playoff seeding. So, yeah, absolutely. July the 3rd, this isn't alarm whistles. This is just a reality. This team hasn't been playing good. It's ugly.
Oh no, like alarm whistles are up. It was more the question of is it reality for you that they might actually miss the playoffs? And that's absolutely. Even to ask that conversation or ask that question is kind of crazy.
Charlotte's better than them. Cincinnati's better than them. They got the Red Bulls coming in. That's a number 3 seed team. Trying to think here. DC, New England, Chicago. Yeah, of course they can beat all 3 of those teams. Maybe they might be.
Can they?
Tonight. Well, we'll find out. They did beat New England last time that they played them on the road. Look, tonight's the night. They're playing Chicago plus 235. Might take a little flyer on that. For them to go up there and win, plus 225 on DraftKings Sports.
I'm not going anywhere near that.
All right, quickly on this, staying with the soccer, I just want to put this out there. Euros, I see it. I got the path. I got the vision. I'm locked in right now. It's knockout round soccer, the best of the best left. We got 8 teams, 4 games left, right? Is that true? Dun, 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 yes. And I'm loving what I'm seeing from 2 squads. Now, it's by far not, this isn't the Kansas City Chiefs versus the 49ers in the Super Bowl, right? Like, this is, we'll see. But I think there's money to be made on both of these squads, and I will continue to bet on them, number one, to advance, which is the only way to bet knockout soccer. You should be able to get good money, plus money. And the exact matchup for the Euro Final 2024 that I am envisioning is plus 850 on DraftKings Sportsbook. No shame in my game. Shop around, see what's a better number out there for you. But I'm already fired on DK. And the final for the Euros 2024 will feature Germany, who is hosting. Not too much of a shock, but check out their side of the bracket. And the Netherlands. The Dutch. That's my team, the Dutch. I think the Dutch are going to knock off England. I don't think Netherlands are going to lose to Turkey. I don't think England's going to lose to Switzerland. And you're going to have that matchup right there in the semifinal. I like the Netherlands. I like the Dutch to take it to England. It's going to be a tough game.
You have it all figured out.
Yep.
You did it.
And on the flip side of that, you got France and Portugal. It's a hell of a matchup. Germany and Spain. Germany's a slight dog to Spain. If Germany gets past Spain, which I like their chances there, I think that's going to be a physical matchup for France and Portugal. I don't think France has played all that well, to be honest with you. I don't think everybody's really played up to their level of expectation. I like that matchup. Plus 850. I'm fired on the exact. And I don't have to pick a winner there. So we'll see how that one plays out. But again, to advance, I'm going to be firing on Germany to advance over Spain. And I'll be firing on Netherlands to advance over Turkey. So we'll see how that one works. But I'm loving it, man. Euros are great. They're great. And the fact that we don't have to worry about Copa America from the USA perspective, it's a beautiful thing.
They stink. US stinks. Forget soccer in a minute. Just forget about it. Just
fire everybody.
You don't even need a national team anymore. Just
fire
watch
everybody.
Watch MLS and then watch some Euros. US national team, they're never going to be good. That's it. It's what it is.
I think we overvalued our players a little bit, didn't we?
Think so? They overvalued something because they were selling high. They were selling so high that 4 years ago. But really, when this whole process started of like getting those guys and developing them and all, this was like a process that was going to lead to the promised land or whatever that was. At least better success for the men's national team, and it's just the same as it's ever been. Nothing's changed.
No arguments. I ranted and raved a little bit yesterday, and felt better doing so. There are already 24, 48 hours since the result. I don't understand how Berhalter is still the head coach. It's time.
I thought that was going to be almost immediate after that result.
It has to be.
Yeah.
And it's not. There's so much politics and everything into that decision, and so many people have to sign off on it. So who knows? But it seems very easy to me to see that that's an extremely comfortable squad right now, and you got to get somebody in there. It's the same thing in every sport. You got a player's coach, you fire him, you bring in a hard ass. You fire him, you bring in a player's coach. Now you're going to start to weave in some younger player or some younger.
Yeah, I mean, you got to shake things up somehow. You know, I don't know what the shakeup is, but yeah, something needs to be shaken up and big time.
Yeah, Berhalter's got to go. You got to get somebody in there to ruffle some feathers, get some reaction, raise up the level of play, because everybody's just too damn comfortable, and there's nothing to be comfortable about the way they performed in those 3 games. And I don't care about the excuses with Timothy Weah getting a red card. I don't care about the refs. I don't care. Honestly, I don't even care about the coaching. It's about the players. But unfortunately, the coach is connected. He's got to get the most out of these players. And these guys are good, but I don't know if they're that good in what we thought. And point blank, when everybody's playing in all these great leagues, that's great. But how much are they really playing? Are they really having, success across the way? Are they difference makers for their squads? What exactly are they doing when it comes to details, except for, they play for these teams, which is great, and it's a huge deal. But at the end of the day, are they producing? Are they getting better? Are they getting fat? What's going on? So there was a great write-up on ESPN.com. I tweeted it out. I forget the gentleman's name, but he really took a deep dive on the players and what they're doing across the way. And yeah, there's some pluses, but I think we kind of overvalued what exactly has taken place with a lot of these players across the way, across the pond. We'll see.
Feels that way.
Yep, exactly. Well, we got nothing on the docket until the biggest tournament in all of sports of 2026. I know there's some Gold Cup action, kind of weak, but this was it. And the bare minimum wasn't met. Like, they needed to advance. Like, if they advanced and lost to Argentina in the first round of the knockouts, I don't think people are losing their minds. They just won the World Cup. If they advanced and lost to Brazil, who they played well against a few weeks ago, understood, it's Brazil. Like, I don't think people are losing their minds. But this was a disaster, and they need to fire Berhalter so they can get the most out of these players and have some sort of success competition in 2026, because snapping the fingers is going to be here. All right, enough soccer talk for this version of the Daily Ticket. Let's keep it moving. Got some odds and ends I want to hit, including a gambling conversation. Let's get back over to sports and talk a little bit. As I was just talking about soccer, I didn't mean that like that, but let's talk a little bit
about
real
sports. Yeah, let's get to the real sports. None of this soccer crap, Brace. Get it out of here. Soccer's not American. There's no American soccer. Let's get to the real American sports. Football.
So
the real football. Baseball. Basketball, I guess. Sure.
Anything for you on Big 12? That's coming up at 5:00. Our summer ball Big 12 conference, a preview between Joe Tangi, myself, and Beef. That conference is going to be crazy. And I mean it from the standpoint of, like, you see a couple teams that, like, you could make the case. Texas, Oklahoma are gone. But now you're inserting Arizona, had a great season last year. Of course, Utah is favored to win the conference. Kansas State, Kansas. You can Colorado, like everyone's going to be talking about them. How good are they going to be? They're going to have playmakers on offense. But that conference, top to bottom, like I get it. We're all eyes on the SEC and Big Ten. Big 12 is it's going to be pretty cool. I'll be watching the Big 12. I promise you that.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting because you're taking out, really the big guns, especially, Texas, Oklahoma. So yeah, I find that all kind of fascinating how it's going to go down and what teams can step up. Really, a lot of the American teams that moved over, especially like Cincinnati, Houston, haven't really done much. So is one of those teams finally gonna feel a little bit more comfortable in the Big 12? But so far they haven't. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Arizona, I know has been better, but I don't expect too much of that Arizona State. Like I don't think I'm going to be talking about them winning the conference. Kansas State, TCU, especially Kansas State and Kansas as well. They've been sort of near the top, so maybe they can start to take hold and take the reins of this conference. But yeah, it's sort of, to me, it's sort of just wide open at this point. There's really none. And again, go ahead.
Avery Jansen from Kansas. Watch out. Excuse me. Avery Jansen from Kansas State. He is listed at 25-1, I want to say. I think on DraftKings to win the Heisman Trophy. Beef was kind of not pumping him up for the Heisman, but we were talking about him. Kansas had Daniels as their quarterback. Watch out for him. He's no joke. And it comes down to that, who's got the better quarterback. And of course, if we're going to start talking about preseason, it's like that's got to be important for a lot of people. Cam Rising for Utah at the top. But that conference, I think we're going to see some anarchy. I think we're going to see some teams that, the winning team probably has 2 to 3 losses, maybe. And that's going to tell you the influx of that conference, the totality of it throughout the course of the season. So definitely has, again, it comes down to this. Everyone talks about the Big Ten or the SEC. Big 12 is pretty cool. That's all. Take a look at that.
It is. It still is a cool conference. Again, some of those teams for the American moved up. They're interesting names. Colorado now becomes really interesting. It's still it's still a major conference, but they really needed some of those teams. And I'm specifically looking at the American Athletic Conference teams that moved up. Houston, BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, all of those teams they were great coming into it. Like UCF was having really good seasons. Houston was having really good seasons. Cincinnati went to a college football playoff, but all those teams are kind of fading away. So it's just up to, it's an interesting conference, but in order to be considered, something even remotely close to what the SEC and the Big Ten are, which I don't know if any conference is going to be able to do that soon. The Big 12 is going to need some of those programs to step up big time. And so this will be an interesting year for that for sure.
All right, that's coming your way at 5:00. Trust me, you're going to hear more from the big brains from Tansy and Ryan Beef Coyle, and I look forward to getting all of that once again out there on the airwaves. Summer Ball, Episode 4, Big 12 edition. All right, keeping it moving as far as what else is taking place in the sports world. Just want to bring it back to the NBA for a second. The big news item today, LeBron James. Like we knew this was going to happen. This was the plan all along. I feel bad if you were thinking this was going to change any which way. LeBron was never leaving LA, and he was always going to get his kid signed and drafted, which it's a fully guaranteed rookie deal. Bronny's going to primarily play in the G League for the first couple of years, I would imagine. He'll get some PT in the beginning, in the exhibition. I would imagine maybe one or two early games. You'll get him out there on the floor for that pretty cool moment where the father and son in the starting five are on the five at the same time, which is, hey, look, LeBron's
is that really going to happen?
Yes. And it should happen.
Should it?
Difference doesn't make.
Oh, come on. The kid's not ready to play. The kid's definitely, and not to say the draft pick was bad, because if he got more time to develop in college, he could have potentially been an NBA player, at least like a two-way play, something. There is enough there that, yes, he likely would have been in the NBA somehow, but giving him minutes? Like, are we really talking about giving him minutes?
Absolutely. This is
Maybe
the
that's
first
too
time
far then.
in history. No, why? You're
Right.
doing it for historical reasons. This is the first time in history that a
Yeah,
father
but
and son are gonna be out there.
that's great, but is it great to make history for something that's completely, like, almost fabricated in a way?
It's not the first time that somebody got minutes that, that didn't deserve them. Like, in the NBA history? Come on. And
I don't know.
LeBron is
Not like this though. And I know Woj can go on his whole nepotism thing. I know this is part of that. Like it's all in the NBA, but I don't know. This seems like an extreme. Fine that he got drafted, no problem with it. Fine that he's on the team, and they wanted to get him on the team, and LeBron wants him on the team. But like, do you want to win games? Then maybe minutes aren't the right thing
well,
for
I would
that
say
kid.
this. I think he's going to play in a regular season game this year. If that is not the case, LeBron did sign a 2-year deal, so it will take place next year. Maybe that's how it plays out, but
Right.
I fully believe that Bronny will end up in a starting 5 some way, somehow. I don't think the Lakers are gonna be good
You're
this
saying a
year.
starting five.
Yeah, I think he's gonna start a game this year. Definitely. For the historical reason. That's it. Get him in there, like, it's gonna do that. Come on, man. Do that in February. Do that, like, post football. Do that in March when we got nothing. College basketball, of course, like, we'll eat that up. Everybody will be talking about it. That
Oh,
will
I
be
know I mean, yeah.
worldwide. This is a no-brainer. Matter of fact, I'd have the calendar laid out. Bronny, you're gonna do this. You're gonna do this. This is the game right here against OKC at home, or no, against the Cleveland Cavaliers at home in March. I wouldn't be surprised if the NBA schedule makers are talking to the Lakers to make that game happen in March or early April when
I don't like
nothing
it.
matters.
I don't like it.
Oh, come
That's
on.
ridiculous. The thing is,
It's sports. It's
I guess,
entertainment.
yeah, but it's competition. It's sport. It's sport. That's the main draw. Like, that's the main thing. You want the best players out there. It's competition. Sport isn't entertainment because it's wrestling. Like, it's not theater. Sport is competition. Like, that's what the entertainment is. And yes, some of the players we are entertained by, but that's mostly because they're really good at the competition itself. Not this. This is so fabricated. If it were to happen, again, I'm fine with the Bronny thing, but like, you can only take that so far to where I go, really? That's what we're doing now? It's never entered in my mind. And the thing is, I actually do think you're right that this is going to be staged in a way that he's going to get a start at some point, and it's going to be at a specific time. I think you're probably right on the nose of that. To me, it never entered my brain because I just go, the kid's not ready. He's not going to play. But they're going to make something out of it.
Well, there's been plenty of players that weren't ready that got minutes.
Who?
Plenty.
Not like this.
Oh, come on. There's
Not
been
like
trash.
this.
The Washington Wizards have been trashed for the last
Bronny
decades.
James couldn't even start on the Wizards right now.
Well, he doesn't have to. And that's my point. I don't think he starts day one. I do believe that when we get down the stretch of the season, we'll see how it plays out. There's a bunch of garbage games. There's a bunch of games that nobody gives a damn about. Come on, you know that. And put him in there. How cool would it be? Bronny throws a lob up to LeBron from like, that's going to be insane. We're going to eat it up. Feed me more. And then next year he starts. Oh, God, I'm in. I'm all in on Bronny and LeBron. All right. Anyways.
I don't know. I don't, because I don't want to criticize the kid. I think a lot of it's taken out on Bronny itself, and I think that sucks. You know, the kid's living his dream. Let the kid live his dream.
Weird. Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird. I mean, it's obviously a weird situation in general because this doesn't come off very often. No. It's honestly never come up. So it's really hard to gauge, like, well, is it a good idea? Is it bad for the sport? Like, I heard, man, Rob Parker, I think he was on our airwaves. Like, this is the worst thing that happened in sports. Like, come on, man. It's not the worst thing ever in sports that Bronny James got drafted at the 55th pick. Who else are you drafting? Somebody else that's never going to play. So great. Good. Because you get that, like, 1% chance that you draft a Jokic or something in the second round, you're not going to get any player worth really starting the second. It's a miracle at times to get a player that's worth playing in the second round. It's a bunch of Bronny James type, which, again, Bronny James is somebody that, if he develop, could be a solid, like, two-way player in the NBA. We'll see. He's got the shooting skills to do it. He's got, I don't know about the size, but the athleticism to at least guard, the willingness to guard. I'm not saying he's going to be an amazing player, but yeah, he could have some role in the NBA. I'd take that in the second round for a player. That's fine. But
Okay.
yeah, for a Rob Party, like this is the worst thing to happen in
Yeah.
sports. Like there's too many extremes here. He shouldn't start. I don't think ever we should be having conversations about him starting on an NBA roster anytime this year or maybe even next year. But also to say it was the worst thing to happen in the history of the NBA and sports and competition is ruined forever. Look at how people are talking about Caitlin Clark and look at how they're talking about the WNBA. And you tell me if that's being talked about as a sport. Because it's not. It's been talked about anything but. That's a travesty. This is different. The competition's fine. The competition's still healthy. Everybody's going to be okay.
Well, we'll see how it plays out. Long way to go, but that's the big item from today as far as the news is concerned. Breaking news, LeBron James, 2-year, 52 plus. So I think it's like 104 total for the 2 seasons to stay with the Lakers, which was the deal all along. And we'll see how it works out for JJ Redick and company. I am excited about Dalton Connect, but that clearly is not going to be enough. That team's going to be in a tough spot this year. The West has gotten better. We'll talk more about that, of course, over the next few weeks. I do want to mix this in. You did just bring up the WNBA. I watched last night, Caitlin Clark. It's phenomenal. Packing the house up there in Vegas. Vegas Aces have been struggling this year. You're talking back-to-back winners, if I'm not mistaken, of the WNBA. But Clark had some moments where she popped the 3 and it comes down behind the back. A couple turnovers. That's really plaguing her this year, averaging over 5 turnovers per game. But she's having a hell of a season, and so is Angel Reese. I bring it up because somebody was on my timeline saying it's not even close. They would give it to Angel Reese. I just laughed at that.
Oh, it's close. It's close. Come on, it's close.
Oh, it's definitely close. And now
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark is not going to lose. I'd be shocked. 20 games to go. It's the halfway point. Caitlin Clark is minus 550. Angel Reese is plus 350 on DraftKings Sportsbook, which is a drastic odd shift over the last few weeks. And rightfully so. Angel Reese has been dominating. But when it comes down to it, the popularity is going to be involved as from a voter's perspective. Dance with the devil if you want. You want to take Angel Reese, knock yourself out to win that bet. I would be blown away if Caitlin Clark does not win Rookie of the Year. Half a season to go. Plenty of game to be played. We'll see. But it's not like Caitlin Clark isn't doing her thing. Triple-double, popping these logo 3s, averaging over 8 assists per game, if I'm not mistaken, 5 rebounds, 16 points, something like that. She's filling up the box score, but so is Angel Reese. But I just think the popularity is going to be involved with it. And I kind of feel like it should be. I don't know what the exact details from a voter perspective, what you're asked to do. So without knowing that, and like, okay, if it's not involved, if there's no gray area and you got to strictly keep it to on the floor, and what this player, like team success, is that involved? So there's some things I need to read up on to really give you a hardcore take at this point in time. But bottom line is, I just feel like put yourself into the voter's mind, and I don't see how they can pass up Caitlin Clark with everything she's doing this season, bringing that to the table.
Yeah, and yeah, she's not dominating. I think that's why it is close, and Angel Reese has been really good. But there are some really good things she's doing. The assist numbers are phenomenal. So she is a great passer. That's part of her game that should be highlighted more. Everybody is going to go, the field goal percentage is under 40%, which everybody's going to go to. She's only shooting, I think, 34% from 3. The scoring numbers aren't as prolific.
It's the turnovers that people are
turnovers too. But the problem is, though, like, she's on a bad team. She's the point guard, essentially. She's got to be one of the primary scorers and also the main facilitator for a bad team. That's hard. Like, look what happened to Mikal Bridges. Everybody's looking at his defensive numbers and going, wow, Mikal Bridges' defensive numbers are bad with the Nets. Well, maybe look into why. He was on a bad defensive team. He didn't have any help. He was guarding their primary offensive player, the other team's primary offensive player, the entire time. And also, Mikal Bridges was their primary scorer. He was both. That's obviously going to take a toll somewhere. Like, I think it's the same thing with Boston as well. Aaliyah Boston with Indiana. It's not a good team. So yeah, I think Caitlin Clark's numbers are going to suffer a bit. She's relied a bit more to score. She's relied a bit more to pass. So yes, her her shooting numbers are probably not going to be as efficient as they would be if she was on a good team. Her assist to turnover ratio numbers probably aren't going to be as good as they were if she was on a good team. This is what happens when you're not on a good team. And also, you're a rookie trying to figure out the league, and you're adjusting to a new league and a tough league in the WNBA. So yeah, there's like going to be some things that aren't great with all of that context, but with all of that surrounding it, you could still look at Clark and go, and she's still playing well. Like she still is. There's not, and now anybody that wants to say like Caitlin Clark is running away with it, she's not running away with it. Anyone wants to say that Angel Reese is definitely over, it's not definitely over her. It is a very close conversation between the two. And I think right now, yeah, I'd give a little bit of the edge to Clark. And I think a lot of that does have to do with popularity, why I lean. Because I would say if it's on the court, it's about pretty even to me.
Yeah, I agree. So, hey, look, lower those numbers, lower those odds. I didn't have a chance to get on Caitlin Clark. So if you bring that number down, I will absolutely happily take her at the end of the season. Again, halfway to go. We'll see how it plays out. Just cool that we're watching these games, man. These girls are balling, and there's a lot of eyeballs on this league at this point in time. So very, very cool. All right, we will end on this. And it's an unfortunate note, but I do want to get this out here because Howard Eskin is an absolute piece of trash. And it is very disappointing to see other organizations, which I'm very reluctant to go too much here because we don't know the exact details. But from the original report that's on the Inquirer, if an organization thinks that they can go ahead and somewhat slide this underneath the rug and maybe nobody will find out and ho-hum will give him the rest of the year off for trying to kiss an employee at the ballpark that was unwanted. Also, you can say sexually assault if you want. Again, I'm going to use the terminology that was in the article. All I know is there are going to be questions. This is a national topic. Howard has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way over the years, so a lot of people are not going to let this go. Essentially, it's F around, you find out. And Eskin's a piece of you know what and has been for quite some time. And I'm talking about Howard here. So the unfortunate stuff is, and it's really disappointing that there were organizations like Odyssey, Sports Radio WIP, and the Phillies, from what we're reading, and Aramark to say that we think this is a sufficient punishment. Take the rest of the season off. From where I'm sitting, that's not good. And people are going to have to answer that question. And decision makers who signed off on that to think that this is good enough will have to step up to a podium or give us a statement. And I truly do expect that people are going to lose their job over this, trying to defend somebody like Howard Eskin. And that's a shame. That dude sucks, has always sucked. And I'm not happy by no means, but it's disgrace. It's absolutely disgraceful, that article. So we will learn more. And I don't care about his son. His son could say whatever he wants, whatever. They're all cut from the same cloth. There's a lot of them over there that kind of, rub me the wrong way. But this is different. This is different. So I will focus on Howard Eskin, who is a complete POS. And good riddance, man. Just send him off to the pasture. That means Eagles sideline. Come on, man. Eagles, do the right thing. Don't just cut ties. He's 73 years old. He should have been gone a long time ago, but WIP loves him. And for some odd reason, somebody at the Phillies does, Aramark, and they thought, you know what, we'll give him the rest of the year off and maybe people won't hear about this. Not good.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to speak for anybody, for a group of people, but I have talked to and had on my show, and I respect a lot of the women reporters that are in the media room. And when something like this happens, that affects a lot of people because it's already sports is not a safe environment for women. Still, it is still a hard environment for women. And so what? A year happens and comes back around. I just don't want to speak
not even a year
for any of those, right? But don't want to speak for any of those women. But I do just want to highlight those women are doing great work. Women should be safe in a sports environment and support when you can for great women. because I
An
know
Aramark employee.
there are a few that I've had on my show that have been excellent. I think they're some of the best. I know Alex Coffey does an amazing job at the Inquirer. Destiny Legardo, I've had on my show a million times. She's
All good.
fantastic. So
Yeah.
all very good. And so that is all I would say. Because again, we don't the situation. We know some stuff, but without knowing too many details, I will say that and support women in sports, and especially support those who are in that media room, the women in that media room that are doing excellent work.
I also want to say that just knowing what I know, there's a camera in every location. So if it happened in that stadium, there's video. So everybody better realize that, like, you're already off on the wrong foot. And I'm not saying people are lying, but man, there were some disappointing decisions being made by some really, really important people that are representing some big, big brands. And I don't think this is going to end well for a lot of people. Just leave it at that. We'll cover more of, because obviously Eskin is a piece of trash. All right, Daily Ticket done. X is into you next, followed by Summer Ball, all things Big 12. Hey, no 4th of July shows. Everybody enjoy the family, enjoy the fireworks, enjoy the Cubs and Phillies at 2:20 p.m. Have a dog, show some love for your neighbor, and God bless this country. And God bless our men and women who defend our country. John Jansen, you're the man. Enjoy the holiday. Catch up with you, sir. Everybody, don't touch that dial. X is in you is next.